Ouch.
All right. All right, so recording this, I'm going to call the meeting to order at, what time is it, 5:31. Okay, right on time. So everyone should have, Michelle, do you need a copy of the, or do you want a copy of the? Okay. So we're going to go through, first we have to, I think, is the minutes. Did everyone get a copy of the minutes
I got
from last meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion about the minutes? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of our September meeting?
I think I was late for that.
Okay.
Oh, no, September I was here. There wasn't a lot of us there. I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is we received one pre-application from the Historic Commission. It says they have the Historical Commission has surveyed 23 historical important sites in Whitman. Presently, the Whitman Historical Commission is planning on surveying the next layer of important sites that are endangered. Once the sites are surveyed, we would like to provide those sites with plaques noting their dates and importance. The proposed plaques will match those provided previously by the Whitman Historical Commission. We're requesting funds to provide the plaques, for which we received an initial quote. I sent everybody, I think, this is a very common use of CPA money. So there were multiple examples of towns that have used CPA money to provide plaques just like these. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to vote as to whether or not whether we're going to accept this yet, because that will come in our after they do the full application in January, but just to vote that this is an acceptable or allowable project for CPA funds. So my feeling is, based on all the other towns that have used this, that it would be, but I'm open to any discussion about anyone that feels differently or anyone has any questions about that.
Yeah, where is 54 South Ave exactly?
This is here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know the address. I just used the P.O. box when
Yeah.
I mail. Okay, sorry.
No,
This was
sorry.
was this originally a carriage house? Carriage house?
Is that just an example?
No, I think this is an example of
it's
what
an
the sign,
example.
yeah.
Oh, it's an example.
Yep, so
Okay.
this is just, they provided like what the signs would look like,
okay,
because this,
okay.
I think the carriage house
It's just an example.
is an example of one, so the signs that they've used in the past, this is what they've used, and this is what the signs would look like.
It's a nice design.
Yeah, and I think it's, so,
Print out.
oh,
It's really pretty. It's pretty.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's for the
So-
plaques for here.
yep, so,
Wood, metal. What is it?
That's what I was going to ask,
It's
what they were
wood.
made of.
They're wood.
there would.
Wood.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
I didn't look at that link you gave to the other sites. So exactly looking at the grid, exactly which one does it come under?
can I see the grid? Can I see the grid? I think it is
Preserve. I think.
preserve, I believe, for historical.
Preserve.
Because-
Historical.
Because we're obviously not acquiring it.
Yeah.
And they're not rehabilitating or restoring it, but preserving. I think the idea of that the towns that have done this before, I think the idea is that by putting a landmark there that indicates the Mr. Evans, for those listening to this later, Selectman Justin Evans has just entered the chat.
Hey, Justin.
So no, so I think that is the idea, that it then preserves it, because I guess in theory people having a marker. So Justin, we're talking about if you pass one down to Justin. We received one pre-app.
Like that.
Yeah. So just using CPA money to provide markers for the historical buildings that the Historical Commission has already identified in their survey is historically important to the town. And as I was saying to John, on the CPC website, the Community Preservation Coalition website, they link to every project that CPA money has been used for, and you can do a term search for it. So I just looked for historical plaques, historical markers, and it was like 72 pages worth of stuff. So this is something that towns do a lot. And I think so. John's question, I think, is, well, under what category does this fall? And while it's not, as we've discussed before at meetings, there's not really like an oversight body of the CPA. But my guess would be that it's the preserving part of the historic thing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we have existing plaques already?
Yes.
So would that fall under rehabilitate and restore?
Well, I don't think they're replacing their plaques that are already there. They're making new plaques for the new, because in the additional ones. Because last
Okay.
year we voted to fund a survey where they could identify historically important buildings and landmarks in town. And so this, I think, is for those that have identified, get new markers for those ones.
Okay. Still falls under it anyway, except
Right, yeah.
Just a curiosity
Yep.
question.
Oh yeah. No. So I think, but obviously, if that was the case, if like let's say that some of the older ones, you know, what?
We have a candidate who would like his restored.
Restored?
Yes, it's one.
Okay, so that could be something that, in theory, might fall under the rehabilitate and restore for historic categories.
What year is this building?
1907.
1907. Okay. My house is 1905. Do I get a plaque?
Excuse me.
You might not want to. You might be limited to what you can do to it then.
You can approach us and see if we can do a survey on it. We don't do this, so we do the.
Yeah,
This is-
just
yeah.
curious. I just think they're cool. Like when you see a sign like that at someone's house, I think it's cool.
That's old.
Mine has one.
I got one too.
My house has a little plaque. I don't know if it's historic. I don't know if but my house is, I think, 1905. So
Yeah.
it has a little plaque on the front
Yeah.
that says
really?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were all the shoe workers. Basically, the houses were mostly shoe workers. It's like, my backyard was full of the soles that they cut out, the rounded toes.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's
when
a
we
nice
dug in the
plaque
backyard,
downstairs.
nothing but soles, lots of soles.
It's brass.
Lots of soul buried in your yard.
Yep, true. It's interesting.
You are
All right. So, any other questions about the pre-application?
No, I think it's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, so all in favor of telling the historical commission that this is a eligible project and they can move forward with the application project? Can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay. Patty,
I'll second.
Adam. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm in favor.
Abstaining. Yep. Okay. All right.
It's great.
So that's that. So I will email Molly to let her know that. All right. The next thing I think I put on the agenda, I don't have the agenda with me, but I think the next thing I put on the agenda was, I just want to talk about the application process, because we, as some people may have noticed, and I did not check today, but the application and the pre-application on the website are still from last year, and so the dates are out of date. I reached out, anyone that reached out to me through the CPC email address or that I talked to, I either emailed them the new updated forms. I gave the new updated forms. I emailed those to Josh, not Justin, to Josh in IT, but I know that that's a super busy office. So one thing I wanted to kind of run by everybody, because obviously last year we had a similar issue where eventually it got to, I believe Michelle just actually had to call Josh in the middle of our meeting or text him in the middle of the meeting and ask him to put it up. And my thought was there's two things we could do. One is we can just keep updating it every year and then just kind of, maybe be more aggressive with the IT office about getting them up on the website. And then I had two other thoughts. And one is making just one application and either setting it so that instead of having an actual date on it, it says, like, for example, we picked the Wednesday after Martin Luther King Day as the date. I think it was last year and this year, and then the pre-application we did, I think, ended up being the Wednesday after Columbus Day. And so the idea we could just put that on an so that make a pre-application that just says due on by such and such time on on the Tuesday or the Wednesday after those holidays, so that we don't have to keep updating the application unless there's something about the actual application form that we want to change. But that the idea that if we're going to be updating it just to change that date and move that number one or two numbers up every year to adjust for the calendar, we could do that. The other option that I was thinking too is that we could set it at a particular date and just have them delivered electronically and not have them print out, because that would be an issue. Like, obviously, sometimes if we pick, like, let's say we say January 18th, sometimes January 18th is going to be a Sunday or a Friday when town hall is closed.
Yeah.
But so they wouldn't be able to deliver them by that date. But if it was only via email, whether the town hall was open or not wouldn't matter. They could just email it by those days. So those are the two thoughts I had. And then that way, the only time we would have to ever update The applications would be if there was something like kind of a, something we wanted to change about the application process, instead of just changing the date and then having to upload it every year and then get it updated. And then, like I said, I know the IT office is very, very busy in town hall. So, and they have a lot of projects they work on. So, but that became an issue. I know that, some people reached out to me that the pre-application was not up, by those dates. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts about that, or
I think the first version's probably the best on the outside chance that somebody doesn't want to email it and they want to physically deliver it.
okay.
I was going to say the same thing because I know it is 2023, but not everybody
Exactly.
still at this point.
I know, but I do think that the way it is now, we could change this too, but the way it is now, they have to both email it and deliver it in
Okay.
person. So that's the way it is now. I mean, I was just offering that as another
Sure.
option because I don't know if people will be, again, I mean, I don't think that it's so onerous if you look at, if you say, like we said, like, oh, the Tuesday after the Martin Luther King holiday, and someone's like, well, I don't know what date that is. I mean, it's not that onerous to go look on a calendar and see what that day is.
You could always just make it the second Tuesday or the second Wednesday.
We could do that. Yeah, we could certainly do that.
Tuesday of that month or whatever.
Right, we
Might
could-
make
That's
it
a good
even
idea,
easier.
too.
Then
Do
you
like
don't
the-
have to have
yeah.
specific
Yeah.
calendar days
that-
for people.
that
They
would
just
be
have to
very
look at the
specific.
third Wednesday.
Yeah. So we could do that. We could say, and pick, and obviously this is something, maybe we could do this for the, because if the IT office has not put up the current, the 2024 application yet, like I said, I did not check it today, but, then we could make a decision about the date being like, okay, we want it to be the third, the third Tuesday in January.
Yeah.
Elaine.
I'm on the opposite side of the fence as usual.
Okay.
What would be wrong with us getting permission to adjust that form yearly ourselves?
I do adjust. I do it. I sent the form to Justin after our meeting in September.
Well, I'm implying that you could update it on the site. I know some people have access to sites themselves, and for that particular those two forms, if we could have access to actually go in and change the date, I feel you need to put a date, because you start talking about Tuesdays and Wednesdays and people are going to get confused. But that's my opinion. I told you I was on the opposite
Okay.
side.
No, I think that is a point. That's one of my, that's why I offered the idea of setting a calendar date and then eliminating the paper thing, because then it would be a specific date. Then people could submit it, but they're just submitted electronically to us. I don't know. I have no idea whether or not like we would be able to get access to
No, you-
updating the site ourselves.
You'd have to be an admin.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the only admin is Josh, right?
We have a few website admins. Kathy, do you know how many? It's mostly department heads, right?
Right.
They don't have like recording
There's
secretaries.
usually
and-
like one for a department that's physically located
Yeah.
full-time in town hall.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be that hard to change a date once a year, right?
Well, no, like I said, it's not that hard. I mean, I have to go in and
Right.
go into, I use InDesign and I make like a PDF, and then I go in and I change the dates on them, and then I send the updated PDFs to Josh in IT. I just think I'm thinking about it in terms of,
Trying to make it easy. I get that.
I'm trying to make it easy. I'm trying to, on the IT people and also on me. I am not a badgerer by nature, so like I email it to them, and then maybe I follow. Like I think last year I followed up a couple times, and like I said, I know that they're busy. I'm not. This is not. And I know they do a lot of stuff, so that's why I was thinking if we could just do something so we're doing it once, because unless we are making any kind of substantive changes to the application, it seems like kind of an onerous process for us just to change the year date every year.
No, that's what I was going to say. Doesn't he have to change the year date anyway? What's the...
No, well, that's what I was saying.
The year itself has to get changed every year. No?
Well, I would say we wouldn't have a date on it. Just say like
Okay.
due January 18th, or do whatever if we did the date, or do the second Tuesday of January. I mean, I understand that those are confusing, and maybe it is. Maybe the committee decides that like we should just do it this way and just update the form, the date every year, and do
exact
that.
date.
And then, but then it would require us to be more, or me really, to be more proactive about making sure that that it gets up on the site and that, and be a little more pestering than maybe I'm comfortable with, but maybe as a chairman I need to be more pestering, I suppose. But
Well, Josh has an assistant as well, so maybe we could send it to him. I mean, it's a quick fix if you're in that department.
right, I know. I was just thinking about, that was my only thought was just,
No, I know, I get it.
yeah. John.
So two thoughts. First of all, I would not eliminate the paper requirement because that gets filed with the town clerk.
Okay.
And if it's only filed electronically, it never goes to the town clerk. So
Okay.
we ought to preserve that.
But does the town clerk keep these?
Probably if they're
The
required.
paper copies,
Are they required to?
I would imagine.
it probably keeps everything.
Well, who decided that?
Well, no, they just drop off 10 photocopies,
Okay.
and then I have 10 photocopies. So I don't. There's no requirement that we say.
It's not like
that- I mean-
because I was just looking,
It's
she
stamped.
stamps everything,
Well, I think she stamped it to say, I guess to say that it was received.
which, gives proof
Right.
that somebody submitted it as of that day.
Yeah,
So
it's got the date and the time
I
and
think
everything.
it probably still
Yeah.
should be.
Did she give you the 10 copies that were given to you, or did you get your own 10 copies?
These were in the mailbox downstairs.
All right.
So these.
So she didn't need to keep a copy, but nonetheless.
Well, if that is something that is the case, where the town clerk needs to keep a copy, then we would need to specify that, and I can look into that, whether that's the case or not. But we would need to them to then provide an additional copy because we have 10 members. They make 10 copies,
Okay.
and the town clerk can't.
I bet you she keeps a
But-
copy.
Yeah.
But how would unless she made a copy herself? I guess because
Scan it right into the.
okay, does she?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
Either
All
way,
right.
I think
She's probably
it's,
got it on a folder on her desktop or
either
something.
way, I think it's good to have it
okay,
shown
that's fine.
in case there's any dispute about the date.
Yeah.
As far as changing it, I mean, I'd rather keep changing it each year and by May or June, once we're past town meeting, submit the copy to the IT department. That
Give
gives
them
us-
plenty of time.
That gives us months for them to get it up, right? Otherwise, if the board would rather make it something other, I'd make it something like Tuesday or Wednesday after Martin Luther King Day rather than the 3rd or whatever.
I think that was my thought because I think
That's more.
that's a little bit
specific.
it's more specific.
And otherwise, you might have a situation where some years it's before Martin Luther King Day, and some
Yeah.
years it's after, depending how the calendar works. And
And
this is
the legalness, and you're an
Yeah.
attorney, so I
yeah, it just
a date is a
I'm
date.
more
An
looking
exact
at
date, you
lack
know
of
what?
confusion.
I think you're right, Lane. An exact date makes
Sorry.
more sense. That
All
way
right,
there's
no, I just
that way there's no wiggle room.
yeah.
You know,
But just
Yeah,
just
it's
just
a
know
drop
it's
dead date.
drop dead date, right? I
just
agree.
know it may take a while to get it up and send it in to them. And
okay.
Well, maybe if we send it to both, it'll get done.
Okay.
Yeah, and copy Justin.
So, all right. So I guess we'll keep it as the way we're doing it now, and then we'll just send it in several months earlier than we have been. So
Plenty of time.
yeah. So, all right. So I think the next thing is public comment. I don't know if there's anybody. Yes. Oh.
Yeah, so there's a reason why I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm here as my role as Assistant Town Administrator. Mr. Rosen was in the office just this week while the office was talking about the Peaceful Meadows project
Right.
and how we were going to move forward with that. And at the time, we were talking about getting an appraisal to, purchase either a agricultural restriction or a conservation restriction. So Mr. Rosen suggested that we put in an application. We know it was late, but that I approach this meeting tonight and we go forth from there. However, since that conversation with Mr. Rosen, we were in touch with a contact from the Wildlands Trust. And after that conversation, we thought it best that prior to moving forward with an appraisal, there's another component that probably should be looked at, and that is getting a current open space and recreation plan for the town. So there is one that was expired in 2005.
Okay.
This would open up many grants. We're talking to Old Colony Planning Council about it, so it's something that the town should really have. So just, in a telephone conversation with Old Colony Planning Council, they have grant opportunities in which they would be able to pay for half of the cost of creating this plan. The cost of the plan they estimate is between $50,000 and $60,000. It's a 2-year plan, take 2 years. So the town's portion would be 15 or 25 to 30. And then that portion, there would be grant opportunity to help defray that cost as well. So I'm here to pitch, and I know the application is late, but we didn't realize that this is something that we may put in place until after the application deadline. So I did email to you late in the game this afternoon.
Okay.
And I have a copy here. So I'm not expecting any decisions tonight, but if you could just put that on the next
Sure.
agenda, that would be great. If you have any questions in the meantime, I do have a copy of the one that was created, and it looks as though there were many active participants as far as the town goes. In the conversation with Old Colony Planning Council, they did mention maybe creating an open space plan commission. But so the folks that went into authoring this plan that has already expired was the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Recreation Commission, Department of Public Works, Americans with Disabilities Act Coordinator. So I think it's a multifaceted.
Kathy,
Yes.
why did it expire?
Well, so you know what? I'm sure it just fell through the cracks. It was created.
Okay.
And now this one says the plan is 2000 to 2005. In my verbal conversation with Old Colony Planning Council, they thought it was, they're good for 7 years. I'm sure that's because the makeup of the community changes.
Yeah, it's a matter of the state requirements. I think the state puts a time limit.
Yeah, and that's probably just because the makeup of the community has changed. So, so it is a process. In this one that I'm looking at, this was the most recent one, there was a certified planner. That's part of the cost of the whole project is hiring a certified planner to,
Well, one of the questions I would have, I don't know if we're going to talk about this tonight, but is if we did do it
Yes.
going forward,
Yes.
which I have no aversion to,
Sure.
I would like to know what we could do to make sure it could be continued. Because if you spend all this money and it expires in 5 years.
Right. So, I think in part of my conversation I was saying, so we're updating this, right? Well, I mean, from 2005, you
Well,
sort
it's
of
a moot point now, but going forward,
Right. So,
you'd want to be
so
sure
I
it would be
I see what you're saying there, where we would, be proactive about if we're, right at that expiration deadline, then it would just take a tweak or an update
you might
rather
have to
than.
reapply at whatever, but to keep it
Right.
continual.
Right.
And so you're not
Right.
doing it for 10 years and then you've wasted all your money because now you got to do it all again.
Right.
So there must be a renewal process, I would assume.
I don't think you can just renew,
No,
renew
you
a
probably have to
license.
do
I think
stuff.
you still have to
Right.
update it, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
might be cheaper
Just keep going.
Yeah.
if you're 5 years after the fact, not 15 years after the fact.
Or if you do it before it renews. If you
Yeah.
know
And I
it's
think
renewing next year.
Also, part of the process is to engage the community and what the community wants to see. So, not that I'm super familiar with the components of this thing yet, but I think that is part and parcel of the whole process whereby you survey the town. What does the town,
Yeah.
want to see happen? That
Sure.
type of thing.
Sounds good.
But I know that I know this is not finalized yet. But I know, for example, in the discussions that were happening around the regional agreement, there was talk about putting something specified in the agreement that it gets revisited, so it actually becomes an agenda item on somebody's, and whether that be the
Board of Selectmen or.
Board of Selectmen or somebody puts that up, they can add that to the thing so that it's like, okay, every, in 5 years they have to put,
Required to revisit.
you're required to revisit and you put
Right.
that on, so it's an agenda item that could,
Right.
like I said, the Board of Selectmen is probably the outfit for that unless there's unless there's a committee or a board in town that has more kind of direct oversight on that, which I don't know that there would be. But if the Board of Selectmen, but if it's something like that where it gets to answer Elaine's point, that it is required that the Board of Selectmen have to at least put it on as an agenda item in,
We probably could have a standing agenda item after reorganization every year with what
That's
plans
a
are
great
expiring.
idea.
yeah.
And just so that we take a look and
Yeah.
see we're running out of our housing production plan or
Love it.
whatever.
Yeah.
Open space plan. Yeah.
Yes.
So that, that's
All these have timelines. The master
Yeah.
plan is like they're-
right.
Right.
So that way that addresses that. I think that was something about the reorganization that was interesting to me. The idea that that it's required, that it's a standing item that goes on the agendas of the school committee and of the select boards of both towns. In the case of the Whitman-Hanson Regional School agreement, so that it doesn't just so things that have happened in the past where things do fall through the cracks don't fall through the cracks because as a matter of course every X number of years, in this case every year, like you said, Justin, if the town administrator's office can put together a list of these are the things that are expiring this year. They get put on the agenda at the beginning of after reorganization, and then they can vote on it.
Appointments, plans,
Yeah, yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
make it part of our process.
Right,
Yeah.
so what prompted this is, we want to gain something, and this is an important tool to have to gain. So
Yeah.
unless you're seeking something that this is going to help you with,
Yeah,
yeah.
Sounds like something we shouldn't have lost.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I think, if there were no projects on the fire that would, that this would actually fuel, then no reason to look at it.
Yeah.
And you don't have a town planner, these are the kind
Oh,
of things that
yes.
fall
And that's
through
how
the
most
cracks.
towns handle this. It's through the town planner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think what I'll do is if you email me today, I will forward it to the committee. I'll also look on the coalition website and just kind of see about eligibility for it, and I'll get back to you. Because I think I don't know what you guys think about this, but we'll have a December meeting to specifically. Plus, we can talk. I'll look into the public forum part of it, informational part, and then we can look at that and talk about the eligibility of potentially giving this as a under the open space and probably recreation bucket that we have funds for. The 25 or the 30,000, but that whether it's eligible will be the first step, and then if it is, then you can the town administrator's office can go forward with doing the full application for it to be considered for the annual town meeting in May.
Perfect. Thank you for the
So
consideration.
No problem.
does this all mean that any funding for the Hornster Farms is going to be put off for a year or two? while we
Probably
wait
looking
for
at,
this?
not this May, but the following May for any conservation or ag restriction purchases in the deed.
Because this plan might not be done by then, so you may
Try to
still not
take,
be eligible for any grants.
We'll take the time we have now to maximize state grant eligibility before trying to make a purchase.
Okay.
And what is the deed called? Agricultural deed?
No, so there's a restriction that's placed on the deed, and so there's an agricultural restriction and a conservation restriction, and that just restricts the use of the land moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
So that's why the town would be looking at that, because then that would mean, that in perpetuity, that land over at Peaceful Meadows would be devoted to agriculture
Awesome.
Yeah.
for forever.
Yeah. So we don't go through another auction like that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just so happy that they're, cleaning up the place and they're going
It looks really
forward.
nice,
It's
yeah.
awesome. We're so
Cows
lucky.
again.
Yep.
That was the best thing about town meeting, I thought, anyway. Bring the cows back.
Exactly. I'm
That
so
was a good idea.
excited.
Well, so thank you for your consideration.
Okay, no, thank you.
I think I'm gonna head back to my
Okay.
desk.
Yeah,
And
unless-
Enjoy your evening.
I think we're just gonna set our next meeting and then we're gonna wrap up. So you guys aren't gonna miss anything too exciting. Thank you guys
I'm
for.
gonna lock the door,
Justin,
so
have a good night.
Okay.
Thanks,
lights
Chip.
out and just pull the door closed. and
Okay.
we're good.
All right. Thank you very much, Kathy. Thank you.
Thanks, okay.
Thanks for stopping by, Justin. All right, so I think so I will forward all of that. I didn't check my email before I came, so I will forward that to you guys tonight or in the morning, and then you can look it over. And like I said, I'll do research on the CPC site to kind of test the eligibility, and then when we meet in December, we can vote on the whether or not it's an eligible project and the town can go forward with an full application. So the next step is setting our December meeting date.
Second Tuesday's the 5th.
The first Tuesday is the 5th, right?
Yeah, I'm going to
First, oh, what am I saying?
Yeah, first Tuesday's the 5th.
Oh, so sorry.
It's all right.
I'm-
Well, we usually do the first Tuesday. That's
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to be out of town on the 5th.
Okay.
I can make the second Tuesday,
okay.
the 12th.
12th?
Does the 12th work for
We have
people?
we have our meeting on that 7 that night, so
Okay.
I thought tonight was a double header. We got the
Okay.
dates wrong, so it would have worked all right as long as it's okay with you, Elaine.
It's fine with me, as long
Okay.
as we're up place.
We can go get a cup of
12.
coffee or something.
All right. So can I have a motion to set our next meeting on December 12th?
I'll
So
make
moved.
that motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Okay. All right.
Sweet.
I think we've exhausted our agenda. If nobody has anything else, I'll take motions to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.